welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a mid-month wrap-up. It's the middle of February 2023 right now. The date is the 16th, the 16th of February, and I figured I'd just wrap up the books that I've currently read so far in this month, as well as the books I do plan on reading for the rest of the month. So just to get started with, the first book that I read in the month of February was Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. And it is the second book in the Alex Stern series, and I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I might have to bring down my rating for the first book, Ninth House, down to like a 4.5, because this book was infinitely better than the first book. As I mentioned in my previous video, I didn't have any problems with Ninth House personally, like with the time jumps back and forth. But this book, Hellbent, has a lot less of that, and it also dives more into like a character that went missing in the first book. Don't want to get too bogged down on potential spoilers just in case you haven't read it yet, but I highly recommend, if you didn't like Ninth House nearly as much, I recommend giving Hellbent a try. It is a vast improvement from the first book. If you want me to do a more in-depth review, let me know in the comments below. Next book I read, which is I believe it's a debut novel, and it just came out this year. It is Unseelie by Ivelisse Housman. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. It is the first book in the Unseelie duology. It's okay. It's good. I enjoyed it. 3 stars. It deals with it's a fantasy novel, and it deals with people on the spectrum, autism. The main character is autistic, and I thought it was a very good read. It's not my cup of tea, but like if that's something you're interested in, I highly recommend giving it a shot. Next, I read the novella Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson, and it's a little follow-up novella to her Sorcery of Thorns book. 5 stars. I loved it. I love those characters, Silas especially. And I thought it was a great kind of like epilogue to Sorcery of Thorns. Yeah, there's not much else I can say about that. I read also The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, which is the first book in the Drowning Empire series, and 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, and I liked the characters, but there was just something about the writing style to me that I thought was a little on the boring side. I very much started to enjoy it more once you reach like the 50 to 60% mark of the book, where things start to kind of like come together as far as the plot, the first part of the book, because there's so many characters that it introduces and it changes POVs a lot, that I thought, while I didn't have any issues keeping up, I thought it was a little boring. Like, I normally prefer books with like maybe 1 to 2 POVs. This one had like about like 5 or 6. It's a lot, but I enjoyed it. I do plan on continuing with the series. And I believe the third book comes out in a couple of months, so need to get on that. Next is Bones and All by Camille DeAngelis. Hopefully that's how you say your name. 4 stars. I've not seen the movie, but I've seen reviews of the movie like here on YouTube, so I knew what I was expecting with it. It's a book about cannibalism. I thought it was very well written. The ending I'm not personally a fan of, but it was overall a very good read. And then I read an adult erotica novel called The Ritual by Shantel Tessier. It is a dark college fantasy novel, and it's got a lot of it's got a lot of BDSM and some dark themes in it, and I highly recommend, if you are sensitive to certain topics that you look into the trigger warnings for it. But overall, I thought it was a very enjoyable guilty pleasure read. Um, then I listened to the audiobook that I had on hand. I've got like quite a few audiobooks on hand that I was just kind of like grabbing around over the years that I'm trying to get through my backlog. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert A. Heinlein. 3 stars. It came out in the 1960s, and I thought that it was enjoyable while it's I thought it was enjoyable, but it wasn't like the most fantastic read that I've ever read as far as science fiction, but it was good. Next I read Last of the Talons by Sophie Kim. This is the first book in the Talons series. 5 stars. I very much loved this. This was more I got more out of it than I was expecting. I cannot wait to read more when those eventually come out. This came out in September of 2022, so I don't believe there's a release date for the second book, but I super hope it comes out soon or we get an announcement soon. And please, please, please go read this book. I thought it was a fantastic fantasy novel. The next 2 books are, let's see here. So the first one, The Wild Rose and the Sea Raven by Ivy Jennifer Walker. It is the first book by also the same name, The Wild Rose and the Sea Raven. This one I gave 2 stars. It's okay. It's a retelling where the main female character gives me Snow White vibes, and then the main character is like, his name is Tristan, and he kind of goes through like, he's like becoming a knight for King Arthur. And I gave it 2 stars mostly because like, I don't know if I was having different expectations going into it, but for 80% of the book, you're following the 2 POVs of these 2 characters, and it's like you're reading 2 completely separate stories. Like, while you're reading this, they don't meet up until about 80% of the book. And some mild spoilers, like, as soon as they meet up, they're like immediately like attracted to each other, and the word mate is thrown around. Well, and I don't have a problem with that. It was just so out of left field that I was just like, what? Mates? Really? And at 80% of the way through the book, I thought it was just kind of like not for me. There is a second book, but I don't plan on reading the second book anytime soon. So this one is kind of like, I'm a soft DNF the series. I might read the second book and any following books someday, but I've got too many other books on my TBR that I'm more interested in than following this story. And then following up with that, I listened to on audio Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West by Gregory Maguire. And this is the first book in the Wicked Years series. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was good. It was enjoyable. Was it fantabulous? No. Am I soft DNFing the series? Yes. I don't plan on listening or reading any of the following books in the series anytime soon, but it was enjoyable for what it was. As far as that's all of the books that I have read so far. What I'm currently reading is a debut novel that just came out in January of this year, A Ruinous Fate by Kaylie Smith, and it's the first in the Heartless Fates series. I have seen on Goodreads, though, that there might be a title change called The Witches Die, which is kind of odd because, as you can see from the cover, it actually has the name A Ruinous Fate on there. So I don't know if she's going through like a name change, a series name change. Maybe the series is going to be called A Ruinous Fate and not Heartless Fates. Not sure. So far, I'm really enjoying this. I'm about 50% of the way through the book, maybe a little less than that. But I am anticipating that this is going to be like a 4 or 5 star read so far, just how much I've read of it so far. As far as the books that I plan on reading to follow up with the rest of February, I got quite a few library loans on hand on my Kindle that I need to get through very quickly. I've got An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir, which is number one in the An Ember in the Ashes series. I've got The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is number one in the Bloodsworn saga. And I've got This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi, which is number one in this Woven Kingdom series. If you heard that, I don't know if you heard that or not, but that was my husband opening up the garage. And then I've got Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first in the Skyward series. Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Benner, which is number one in the Founders trilogy. And then I've also got Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan, number one in the Celestial Kingdom duology. And then for new releases that are coming out that I'm really hoping to pick up as well in the end of February, but they might end up going into March, is Loving Nightmares by M. Sinclair, which is the fourth book in the ISS series. This is one of those adult reverse harem guilty pleasure novels, like erotica. And then there's Spice Road by Maya Ibrahim, which is number one in the Spice Road trilogy. And then City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaefer. And then Venko. I think it's supposed to be just like a mixed up word of coven, but it's Venko by Sherry Demoline. And then Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair, which is the second book in the Adrian Isolde series. Like, I loved the first book in the Adrian Isolde series, which is King of Battle and Blood. I've got the Queen of Myth and Monsters currently on hold, and I don't think it's going to be coming in anytime soon. In fact, it probably is going to come in from the hold on the library in March. But those are the books that I plan on reading and the books that have read. If there's any books in particular that you want me to go into a more in-depth review video for, please let me know in the comments, as I mentioned below. And like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.